When black folks don't embrace what folks are trying to do and fend that off, that upsets me, because I am somebody that's trying to set a path for future folks on the come up from my community to be in this position one day.
Davis is now facing a lawsuit in Miami from his ex, accusing him of battery, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and emotional distress. I mean, this does not look good, and he's had previous with his partner. Hands on women, I just can't agree with. It's just terrible, and it's so bad for boxing when a fighter is being accused of putting. I mean, that's my personal opinion on.
Yeah. As reported, Jake Paul's return could shift to December, with the November 14th Netflix exhibition in jeopardy due to the latest allegations against Gervonta Davis. Sources tell Ring Magazine that December 12th and the 19th are possibilities, right? And here are the potential opponents: Nate Diaz or Francis Ngannou.
Stephen A. Smith strongly confronted Gervonta Davis, stating that the boxer has damaged his own career because of irresponsible actions and bad decisions outside the boxing ring. Smith stressed that talent is useless without discipline and respect for the sport. Due to the uncertainty surrounding Davis's future, Jake Paul will now fight a different opponent. Jake Paul is now expected to face a more suitable fighter, someone whose weight, style, and market draw align with his own, to keep the fight plans alive.
Fight Jake Paul.
I hate it. And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from the sport.
Inside Ring Show posted an official update on X, stating that Gervonta Davis is expected to be withdrawn from his November 14th Netflix exhibition fight against Jake Paul. The event is shifting to December while a new opponent is found, according to sources who spoke with the Ring's Mike Coppinger. December 12th and December 19th are the dates being considered for Paul's next event. Sources say Andre Ward was approached regarding his availability, and Nate Diaz and Francis Ngannou are also being explored. This announcement has led to intense fan speculation about Paul's next rival. A Wade podcast analyst highlighted that Jake Paul's team prioritizes financial control and public perception above all else. They believe the lawsuit against Davis could drastically reduce pay-per-view sales, as many viewers may not support a fighter facing such serious allegations. The analyst pointed out that Jake's team values reputation as much as revenue, and the controversy could damage both. The fight was intended to draw mainstream attention via Netflix's global platform, but now headlines about Davis's lawsuit have changed the entire narrative. The analyst explained that although boxing thrives on drama, legal issues like this often push audiences away instead of attracting them.
Jake takes these fights very seriously, and I just thought, okay, this is gonna get a little more interesting than I previously thought. I thought it would be a bit of a mismatch, a bit of a boxing experience to Gervonta Davis, Jake bringing the size and power, and we're gonna get one of these stalemates where no one wants to take a real risk and both guys are gonna get paid. Turns out no guy may get paid, or Gervonta Davis might be kicked off the card because we have a new, not champion, a new domestic violence abuse allegation against Gervonta Davis. There's been a lot of allegations against Tank, and some of those have been dropped, and others have not really been pursued, and you don't really know what's what behind the scenes with people, but when things like this happen over and over, I think this is his fourth or maybe fifth allegation of domestic abuse, you kind of start to have to look at the person that's being accused of such and go, why do you keep ending up in these situations? And the way it's described, we've even seen Tank do some of the things already on camera. But let's get into this thing, and then we'll just go right into the report from Chris Mannix here. Shout out Mannix. Obviously, you guys know him as a commentator with DAZN, covers boxing. covers basketball as well for SI. Chris Mannix on Twitter says, Netflix and reps for Jake Paul have been exploring potential replacements for Gervonta Davis. Sources familiar with the situation told SI Now. Paul Davis, scheduled for November 14th, is in limbo after new allegations of domestic violence against Gervonta Davis. I was in the car. I didn't know if this was real, but I had seen a report, and this came out, I think on October, it came out a couple days ago, but it was from October 27th, and there was a civil suit over domestic allegations just 2 weeks ahead of this fight. This is from Andreas Hale, our guy over at ESPN.com. He essentially wrote the article on it and went into details. So let's take a read. Gervonta Tank Davis has once again found himself in legal trouble just 2 weeks before his exhibition fight. And yes, it was going to be an exhibition. I know it was billed as a exhibition with, a winner and loser, but let's be honest about it. Two guys, massively different weights, massively different experience. It was going to be an exhibition. On November 14th, a new civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade County has put the WBA lightweight champion in hot water over another.
Mike Coppinger, the senior insider for Ring Magazine and co-host of Inside Ring Show, stated on X, as reported by Chris Mannix, that Jake Paul's return could shift to December. The November 14th Netflix exhibition is in jeopardy due to the recent allegations against Gervonta Davis. Sources told Ring Magazine that December 12th and 19th are possible dates, and as Mannix noted, Ryan Garcia and Terrence Crawford were both approached. Coppinger's post added weight to growing reports that Jake's bout faces major changes. Carl Froch didn't hold back when discussing the uncertainty around Paul's next move. He called the original Davis matchup a circus, suggesting it was driven more by showmanship than sporting integrity. Froch believes Paul should never have accepted the fight with Davis initially because there was little to prove. With Davis now facing legal trouble, Froch said it is time to move on and find a proper replacement. He speculated that Jake's team is already exploring backup options and stressed that the event could still succeed with a credible opponent. Froch also criticized how quickly boxing often sacrifices sporting value for spectacle, noting that this situation proves that strategy can easily backfire.
Until proven guilty, they say, right? Regardless of how many times he's been accused of this type of stuff, allegedly or not, it's still innocent until proven guilty. Now, if I have a contract with you, this doesn't involve you. I understand you got a brand and public relations, all this type of stuff, but technically, this doesn't involve you. So you pulled my $200 Jake Paul contract. What if I'm innocent over here? You know who I'm coming after? I'm coming after you. I want my fucking money, or I want some compensation. But these big companies, they be having stipulations and little clauses in their contracts that give them the ability to cancel contracts for all different types of. I used to have those in NRB.
Oscar De La Hoya directly addressed rumors suggesting that Ryan Garcia might replace Gervonta Davis. He confirmed that no such discussions ever took place and clarified that he would personally announce any serious negotiations if they were underway. De La Hoya emphasized that Ryan Garcia is concentrating on other plans, and fans should not anticipate a sudden fight with Jake Paul. His response immediately stopped the circulating speculation and reminded the boxing world that not every rumor is true. Despite the fans' curiosity, De La Hoya made sure to manage expectations, stating clearly that for now, no agreement exists between Ryan Garcia's team and Jake Paul's team.
So I wake up to calls from reporters asking me about Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. Let me just tell you why this fight is not going to happen. Ryan Garcia fights for DAZN, and Jake Paul fights on Netflix. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. Golden Boy has a contract with DAZN. Ryan Garcia has a contract with Golden Boy. And that's just the way it is. I mean, this is business. Ryan Garcia's probably going to rant saying, oh, you're keeping me from making money and this and that and fighting. No. You have to go by the law, by the rules. You have a contract with DAZN. You have a contract with Golden Boy. It just doesn't happen that way. So anyway, until next time, we'll see you Saturday for Vergil Ortiz. But again, Ryan Garcia's next fight will be announced.
Commentators have pointed out that this is not Gervonta Davis's first controversy. Earlier this year, he faced accusations of mistreatment from the mother of his children. Although that case eventually failed, it still harmed his reputation. Now, with another ex-girlfriend filing a lawsuit, many feel Davis must seriously address his behavior. Analysts argue that fame and success are meaningless if a person cannot control their actions outside the ring. These repeated accusations have raised doubts about his discipline and professionalism, threatening to overshadow his boxing career. Some even suggested that his team should intervene to help him stay focused and protect his legacy before his personal issues destroy everything he has achieved.
Match never happened. The Paul camps still thought Tank is a big enough name regardless of his previous result to go ahead with this bout. But just as they were going to announce this fight initially, DV allegations dropped. Tank was arrested and it was once again put in doubt. Then the charges were dropped. A week later, they announced the event. So that kind of brings us to today. This event hasn't been smooth sailing so far, and it was almost destined that there would end up being a few more bumps in the road before we actually saw the two facing off. And about as big of a bump as you could really get has now hit the promotion. A civil suit has been filed against Tank, in which his ex-girlfriend accuses him of aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. While it was also reported by ESPN that a report has been filed additionally with the Miami Gardens Police Department last Tuesday. However, as I'm recording this, there's yet to be any criminal charges. Now, these alleged incidents happened last month, which was after the announcement of the fight. You would think if you're Tank on the verge of the biggest payday he's ever gotten, he would be doing anything to stay out of trouble, yet he continues to find himself in negative situations again and again. But in saying all of this, everything at the moment is very much alleged, and I'm not really here to talk about the validity of these claims. What I am here to talk about though is the impact this might have on the boxing event in a couple weeks time. Now, Tank vs Paul, love or hate the idea of it, was definitely one of the most viewed fights of the year. Although there are rumors of there being poor ticket sales, the at-home audience that
The lawsuit filed by Courtney Roselle against Gervonta Davis in Miami-Dade County presents a disturbing account. She accuses him of attacking her at her workplace, including claims of battery, false imprisonment, and emotional distress. The timing of this lawsuit, just weeks before Davis's scheduled fight with Jake Paul, has shocked the boxing world. Some analysts questioned why the legal action was delayed until now, speculating that the timing might have been calculated to disrupt his biggest event. Others, however, defended the timing, noting that victims often hesitate to come forward due to fear or pressure. Commentators made comparisons to past fighters like Mike Tyson, suggesting that intense aggression inside the ring sometimes manifests destructively outside it. Regardless of the motive, the case has cast a shadow over what was intended to be one of boxing's biggest streaming events of the year.
Or involve the offer. If you're going to involve the laws given a lawsuit, why not involve the law in general and file like actual charges in addition to this? So again, I'm not her. I don't understand that angle of it, because it's like we want him to be held accountable in front of the public, but there's no criminal charges, which is weird, you know, in a situation like that. At least to me, it seems like you would have criminal charges or some kind of restraining order. Now, I don't know. It's not my case to fight or defend. We have to see what comes. I have mixed feelings about these situations, because on one angle, we do see boxers throughout history who have been involved with like temper issues or anger management issues and DV in domestic situations. We've seen that. And I'm talking about all types of fighters, right? Even the great Mike Tyson, I don't believe the story, but again, I don't want to get too distracted on my opinion, but he did prison time for allegedly to a female, right? So on one angle, we've heard that, but then on the other angle, you got people who sue left and right, and sometimes even females, right? Where people are looking to turn a pretty penny. And what happens is sometimes in these celebrity situations, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I gotta see more, you know, it has to go to trial or whatever, see what evidence comes out. Again, this is not really for me to judge. I'm not the judge, the jury, I'm not a cop, so.
Michael Bisping expressed frustration over the idea of Jake Paul potentially fighting Francis Ngannou as a replacement opponent. The former UFC champion made it clear that such a matchup would be absurd given Ngannou's power and size advantage. He argued that despite his growth as a boxer, Jake is not ready to handle someone like Ngannou, who could easily overpower him. Instead, Bisping suggested Nate Diaz as a more balanced and exciting choice. He felt that Diaz brings both name recognition and a fair competitive edge without turning the fight into a mismatch. Bisping's comments reflected a broader view shared by many fans who want Jake's fights to be entertaining, but still hold athletic credibility.
Have pulled the plug on that fight. It says, here's a tweet I'm reading from Mike Coppinger. As reported, Jake Paul's return could shift to December with the November 14th Netflix exhibition in jeopardy due to the latest allegations against Gervonta Davis. Sources tell Ring Magazine that December 12th and the 19th are possibilities, right? And here are the potential opponents: Nate Diaz or Francis Ngannou. Now listen, we know that Jake Paul has been out there and he's typically taking on people that are way older than him, like Mike Tyson, who's 58, Anderson Silva, who was way past his prime, people like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller.
A panel of analysts debated whether the lawsuit against Gervonta Davis is genuine or a strategic move. They stressed the importance of evidence, suggesting that Rosel's case must be supported by clear proof to be credible. The lawsuit's timing raised suspicions because it coincides almost exactly with Davis's scheduled fight and his largest payday to date. Some experts cautioned that the public should not rush to judgment until the facts are fully verified. They also acknowledged that while false accusations do occur, dismissing genuine claims too quickly can be equally unfair. The panel concluded that both sides of the legal case deserve fair scrutiny, but the circumstances undeniably complicate the public's perception of Davis.
Pay you some money. Or she got trash-ass lawyers, and he did all of this shit, and they got all the evidence in the world. They're like, yeah, we just gonna ask for $50K. We ain't gonna ask for nothing more than that. Something gotta give, bro. Okay? Something gotta give, fam. So, there's that part of it. And for the Tank Davis side, listen, dog. Whether you did it or not, if that's all it takes to make this shit go away, so you can go on with your life and go on with your career, I'd consider doing it from a business perspective, right? And just saying, look, man, you asked for how much, man? Here go 100. Shut up, issue an apology. You know what I'm saying? Say that I never did that shit. Say it was a misunderstanding. And you can have 100K here. Shit. That's the business side to make this shit go away and keep it moving. But the man in me, right? The pride is the wrong word. The integrity in me says, if you didn't do this shit, fight tooth and nail and don't give a shit, right? So there's that, right? It's just, again, not saying guilty or innocent. Y'all know when shit like this happen, I like to wait on all the facts to come out. But damn, this shit seeming very, very suspect, bro. Very weird. But now let's get to the potential opponent. So nothing from MVP has came out to say this fight has been canceled. As a matter of fact, they were still promoting the shit yesterday on their socials or whatever. Nothing from Tank's side that said this shit is canceled. Nothing from Netflix saying this is canceled. So for all intents and purposes, these are rumors started by Chris Manning. So
Jake Paul's team has decided to launch their own internal review regarding the allegations against Gervonta Davis. This move demonstrates that they are taking the matter seriously, prioritizing both legal safety and their brand's reputation. Paul's representatives have reportedly been in contact with their promotional and legal partners to determine the best course of action. Depending on their findings, the team could delay the event, reschedule it for December, or replace Davis entirely. Their statement highlights Paul's evolution from entertainer to responsible promoter, showing that he understands how ongoing controversies can affect credibility and business. With Netflix involved and millions of dollars at stake, Jake's team is treading carefully to protect both the event's integrity and their star's public image.
It happens. And from the even contractual side, you got to look at it from Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, it's innocent until proven guilty, they say, right? Regardless of how many times he's been accused of this type of stuff, allegedly or not, it's still innocent until proven guilty. Now, if I have a contract with you, this doesn't involve you. You know, I understand you got a brand and public relations, all this type of stuff, but technically, this doesn't involve you. So you pulled my $200 Jake Paul contract. What if I'm innocent over here? You know who I'm coming after? I'm coming after you. I want my fucking money, or I want some compensation. But these big companies, they be having stipulations and little clauses in their contracts that give them the ability to.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.